today's project, I got some copper pipes. I'm going to get them cleaned up and get them ready to bring to the junkyard. If you're new to scrapping, copper is a good item that you can collect and make some extra money. Copper pipes, wiring, and several other things that have copper in them. You want to try to collect them items first. They're the most valuable. Alright, here's what we ended up with. We got number one copper. I may have to clean some of this up a little bit more, get most of it off. You ain't gotta waste a lot of time. So this would be number one. This is number two copper. It's got fittings and solder in it, elbows, and this is brass. Now we're gonna weigh it all up. Got about 12.5 pounds of brass. Almost 7 pounds of number two copper. About 7 pounds of number one copper. Now I think they'll give me number one for some of this copper. You never know, the higher the prices get, the more picky they get about it. You gotta check your local scrap yards to see what their grading system is. Around here, when the price really gets up there, you start getting picky about everything, and it's really hard to get number one for anything. At this point, the prices haven't peaked out yet, so I think they'll be a little more generous on giving you number one. I'll have to see when I get there. I may have to clean some more to rust off of it. You used to didn't have to worry about it. If it was pipes, no fittings, it was always number one. With the price increase, they look for every excuse to give you the lower price. I'm going to leave you at that. I'll see you guys in the next one. In today's video, I got a couple of radiators on an air conditioner I'm going to recover the value of metals from. There's everything we covered from the radiators from the air conditioner. 3.5 pounds of clean radiator. 1 pound of steel. 1 pound of copper. Estimated time on the radiator is about 10 minutes. At this time, scrap prices are low. Estimated value on all the items are about $6.50. Prices are at the peak market. The same radiators would be about $10 or $12 in price. I got a little gas motor on my tear apart and recovered aluminum from. It's about 3 or 3.5 horsepower. This is a small retainer that holds the valve in. Here's all the metals we recovered from the lawnmower motor. Let's get it on the scale. Almost 10 pounds of steel. 9.5 pounds of aluminum. I still have a little copper to recover from the copper coil. Total estimated value about $7 by the time I clean up the coil and get everything separated. Today's video, I got this control valve I took off a furnace a couple days ago. Looks like it weighs 4 pounds. Running it like that to be about 45 cents. Most of it's aluminum, so let's take it apart. There's everything we recovered from the gas regulator valve. To my surprise, there was a little copper in there. Let's get everything on the scale and see what it weighs up. It's over 2.5 pounds of aluminum. About 1.5 pounds of steel. That doesn't leave much weight left for the copper and the brass. Maybe a few grams of copper and brass. Estimated value maybe about $2. It's more about the learning experience than the money on this. Sometimes I tear stuff apart just to see what's inside. Today's scrapping project, I got a couple radiators I'm going to clean up. Let's take a look at them. Here's everything we recovered from the radiators. Let's get it on the scale. A little bit over 8 pounds of clean radiator. 2.5 pounds of copper. 1.5 pounds of steel. I checked on National Ice Scrap for the price of clean radiators. It's about $1.58 a pound. Estimated value, $18 to $20. Today's scrapping project, I got some cast aluminum I'm gonna clean up. I got a motor block and a piece off of the transmission. Let's take a look at it. Here's everything recovered from the cast aluminum motor parts. About 2.5 pounds of steel, 19 pounds of cast aluminum, about 1/4 pound of brass, very small amount of insulated wire. I'm gonna hang on to the starter in this coil. I got several coils that I'm gonna put together on a video that I'm gonna tear them all apart at once. Estimated value about $10. Cast aluminum pays a little bit more than sheet aluminum if you clean it up. In this area it's about 60 cents a pound. I got these starter coils that I'm going to recover the copper from. They're off the lawnmower engines. Let's take a look at them. I'm not expecting a lot of copper out of these. We're going to recover it anyway. Here's what we recovered from the electrical static coils. Let's get it on a scale. 3 pounds of steel, 3/4 of a pound of copper, small amount of insulated wire. Estimated value about $2.50 to $3. Main thing is we recovered the copper. Like a good old amplifier that I'm gonna tear apart. It's been sitting out in the weather and got rained on. I really don't think it's any good. Let's take a look at it. Here's what we recovered from the amplifier. Not much valuable metal in there. There is some copper. But these copper coils from a transformer are going to have to be burned off. A little fine copper, and it'll take you forever to get that off of there. Estimated value probably $4 or $5. Maybe a pound of copper by the time I burn all that off. A little bit of aluminum. Not a whole lot of value in it. There's some smaller pieces of brass in there. I'm not going to mess with it. To me, it's not worth it at this point. Today's scrapper project, I got a pump that I'm going to tear apart and recover the valuable metals from. Let's take a look at it. Here's everything I recovered from the pump. Let's get it on the scale. First weigh in 18 pounds of steel. Second weigh in 12 pounds. Total of 30 pounds of steel. Close to 1 pound of insulated wire. Almost 2 pounds of copper. We had the switch to tear apart. It's probably got a little bit of brass in it, not that much. Estimated value on a pump, about $8 to $10. Took about 20 minutes to tear it apart. Thanks for following along. We'll see you in the next video. Today's scrapping project, I got a couple of faucets we're going to recover the valuable metals from. Let's take a look at them. Here's everything recovered from the water faucets. Almost 2 pounds of brass, a small amount of copper, 1.5 pounds of aluminum, very small amount of steel. Estimated value a little bit over $5. If you cut into it, you'll see a gold color. 2 pounds of brass. Estimated value about $10 to $12. Thanks for stopping by today. You got an old sink that you took out and you're wondering if it's worth any money at the scrapyard. Well, I happen to have one here. Let's take a look at it. Now, most sinks are made out of stainless steel. So that's going to be a higher quality stainless steel. My estimate is the price is from 40 to 70 cents a pound, depending on what grade of stainless steel. Now, you're going to have some value in the faucet because most of these are made out of brass and there's a little bit of aluminum in them, as well as the drains. Sometimes these drains are made out of brass. Some are made out of stainless and some are made out of brass. More than likely, the older sinks are non-magnetic. The older stainless steel sinks are made of a higher quality of stainless steel. Even some of the newer ones, the magnet will act like it's going to stick or might even stick completely to it. If you want more information on what grade of stainless steel you have, you're going to have to look that up on Google. There's several different types of stainless steel. The steels that are around this edge, this has to be knocked off. You can take a chisel. They have this stuff on here for a dampening sound in the sink. You want to try to get that off of there also. Now we're going to cut into this drain and see if it's brass or stainless steel coated. It seems to be that the threaded part's brass, this upper part is stainless. So we'll have to separate this. Brass is a little more expensive, so you're going to want to try to separate that if you can. But we want to get the most money, so we're going to cut this off. This threaded area is brass. Look, this piece here is stainless. Now most generally these drains ain't like this. They're either all stainless or they're stainless coated brass. Trying to optimize our profit, we're going to separate this. And once again you can see the color, the goldish color. And on the stainless there's no gold. Now you can see inside this brass piece of pipe they had the stainless soldered in there. To remove the handle, each one of these is a hole that has a small Allen wrench. This one ain't coming off. Sometimes you get that. So we're going to have to take the sawzall and cut that. Now we're going to clean this up and get these pieces of plastic out of here. You cut into it, you see a gold color. Once you do that, you know it's brass. Now we're going to get the handles cleaned up. You can tell this casting here is not brass. Cut into this. You can see on that there, that's not the gold color. That's going to be cast aluminum. You have a little small piece of brass on the inside. We're going to get that out of there. We're going to check the faucet extension here. We're going to cut into it if it's brass or if it's aluminum. The piece here on the end, that's aluminum. That's why it was so curled up and wouldn't come off. A lot of time aluminum gets seized up and you can't get it loose. You can see the gold color on that faucet head. That's going to be brass. So that's brass also. Here's everything we recovered from the sink. Let's get it on the scale and see what it weighs. 2 pounds of brass. A little bit over a pound of aluminum. 2 pounds of steel. 12 pounds of stainless steel. So the answer to the age-old question is a sink worth anything in scrap value? With a little bit of work, yes. Estimated value about $10 to $12, depending on your scrapyard. Now, stainless steel prices can vary from 35 to 70 cents a pound, depending on what type of stainless steel. If the magnet don't stick to it, then you get the better type of stainless steel. You want to make sure you remind them at the scrapyard that the magnet don't stick to it, so you get a little bit more. Thanks for following along. I hope this information has been helpful, and we'll see you in the next video. You're going to want to cut about in here on these cylinder shaped ones. pounds of copper. Thanks for stopping by. Today's scrapping video, I got a sealed unit I'm going to recover the copper from. Let's take a look at it. These cylinder-shaped sealed units are a little bit harder to get the motor out of than the egg-shaped ones. Now let's get started on this. Sometimes this piece that's attached to the sealed unit is all copper, but in this case it's just the ends. You're not going to want to cut right on the top. You're going to want to cut about in here on these cylinder shaped ones. Otherwise you're going to have a real hard time getting the motor out of there. Here's what we recovered from the sealed unit. Let's get it on a scale. 21.5 pounds of steel, 3 pounds of copper. Estimated value about $12. Probably took about 35 minutes to take it apart. Thanks for following along. We'll see you guys in the next video. As I expected, not much in the value. Estimated value is probably going to be about $2 or $3. Here's everything we recovered from the Sawzall. Thanks for stopping by. Today's scrapping video, I got an old Sawzall that I burnt out. I'm going to tear it apart and see if there's any valuable metal. But first I want to address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is a lot of this scrap is not very valuable. The purpose of making these videos is to inform people that some of these items are not very valuable and the amount of time it's going to take you to make any money. I understand that a lot of these items don't have much value. I tear a lot of these items apart that are not of much value to inform the people watching how much time is invested and how much value is in it. Now let's get back to the project at hand. Now I understand this Sawzall is not going to be worth a lot. My estimated value is probably going to be about $2 or $3. They're going to have to get this torn apart in about 10 minutes in order to make a decent value. Here's everything we recovered from the Sawzall. Unfortunately, the windings in the motor were aluminum. Not much value in this. As I expected, not much in the value. Maybe $2 if you're pushing it. Some of these items that you scrap are just not worth a whole lot of value. In this case, we might have been better just to bring it in and get the electric motor price. I tear these items apart to show the viewers the value and the time invested so they can figure out if it's worth them the time to tear it apart. Now, I'm not tearing these items apart because I don't know their value. I've been tearing scrap apart for over 50 years. I got a pretty good idea what the value of stuff is. I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. I do this to help inform the new people that are trying to start scrapping so they don't waste their time on something that takes way too much time for the value. I appreciate all the feedback in the comments. You're not going to get rich, and a lot of scrapping stuff takes a lot of extra time. Tear these small items apart so you don't have to. Right, here's a stove after it's tore down. These are all the components that have valuable metal on them. Maybe $3 worth of valuable metal. Thanks for stopping by. Today's scrapping project, I got an old kitchen stove that I'm going to take apart. Let's take a look at it. This is an older one. It don't even have electricity going to it. It's just a gas stove with pilot lights. You can see it down in here. There's a little bit of aluminum, but aluminum's not really worth that much. But we're going to recover what we can. I would say it weighs about 100 pounds. From my previous experience, there's not a lot of valuable metal in this. The reason for tearing it apart is to make more room in the truck for junk. At 100 pounds, it's only worth about $7 and it's going to take up a lot of room. Take it apart and we can see what's inside, any kind of valuable metal. It's going to make more room in the truck for the load of scrap. Now, these larger type of appliances, there's just not much value in them. You just take up so much room and you really don't make that much. I figure since I'm going to take it apart to make more room in the truck, we might as well see how much valuable metal it has. All the newer stoves are going to have more copper in this one because they have the clock and the electric nighters. This one don't have electric, it's just pilot light. There's no clock or anything on it. This is definitely a rare example of an older item not having more copper than a newer one. Right, here's a stove after it's tore down. I got some valuable metal. I'm going to bring it back to the workbench and we'll take a look at it. These are all the components that have valuable metal on them. There's not much waste in this older stove, maybe half a pound of insulation. The newer ones are going to have a lot more waste if you take them apart because they have plastic and they also have a glass door in the front. I'm going to tear these other components apart and recover the valuable metal. Here's the valuable metal we recovered from the stove. Maybe $3 worth of valuable metal. Do I think it's worth it? Not just to get the valuable metal, no. I tore it down because I needed more room for the truck, so I figured I'm going to tear it down, might as well collect the valuable metal while I'm at it. Maybe total estimated value $10 or $11 for the whole thing. Like I said before, you probably would get $7 at the junkyard like it is. You're not gaining a whole lot by tearing it apart. You are making room in the truck for extra stuff, so you're not wasting a lot of time with bulky items. Thanks for stopping by. Today's scrapping project, we had a water softener control unit we're going to take apart and recover the valuable metals from. Now this old water softener control unit come off of a water softener that was probably about 15 or 20 years old. Now I'm not saying that new water softener units have more copper or brass than this one does, but this one has an ample amount of copper and brass in it, and I thought it was worth recovering the valuable metals. There are various bolts and nuts and several miscellaneous items you had to remove from this to recover the valuable metals. Now this is one item I had no idea that there was valuable metal in. I usually don't pick these up because the larger portion on the bottom has salt in it and it's pretty heavy to load up. In the lower part of the water softener there's absolutely no valuable metal, it's just a container that holds the salt. Now had I known there was copper and brass in these water softener units, I would have been picking these up years ago. Even though I've been scrapping for many years, somehow I overlooked this item and checked to see if there was valuable metal in it. I assumed that by looking at it along the roadside when we were out collecting through garbage day, there was no valuable metals because from looking from the outside, it all looks like it's plastic. Which goes to show you, even though I've been scrapped for many years, somehow I overlooked this valuable item. Even though I discovered that this has valuable metal in it, I do regret not checking earlier. I passed up many opportunities to make a little extra cash by not checking and being thorough. Even though I've been scrapping for many years, just goes to show you there are still items you can overlook that have valuable metal in them. I can assure you from this time on I will definitely be checking so I'm not missing out on valuable metal. Now there are several ways to recover valuable metal and collect scrap. One way to ensure you have scrap and valuable metals to work with is to let all your local neighbors and friends know that you scrap. Usually they'll set it aside or let you know that they have it available. Another way to increase your scrap pile is to find out when your local garbage pickup is, and then you can go out the day before looking around for valuable metal and scrap to pick up. Check with your town and the city that you live in to find out the yearly annual cleanup day. And you don't want to forget the local garage sales and yard sales in the area. Most of them have them during a certain time of the year. A couple times a year is a large garage sales. A lot of people leave out items that are valuable for you to scrap. Now, even if you've been scrapping for a while, or if you're a new scrapper, you're going to notice that new items have way less valuable metal. That's due to consumer pricing and trying to be competitive with other companies. Now, I found over the last 10 to 20 years, you're finding less and less valuable metal in the new products. By keeping your eye out when you're looking for scrap, you can know that you're going to have a lot more valuable metal if you find something that's older. Several of the new items have switched to aluminum and plastic. A lot of the old items have a lot more brass and copper in them. Another thing to consider is the value of the scrap and the right time to sell. Usually in the winter and the colder times of the year, the steel industry slow down on their production, so it means less demand for the scrap, so it's going to be a lower price. Also, you have to keep in mind the political aspect of it all. Now, if they're stopping trading and embargoing from different countries, the price is not going to be as high because there's not going to be as much demand from other countries. There's several reasons the price of scrap fluctuates. Nobody can predict the price of scrap, but by keeping your eye on the local news about the trade embargoes, steel industries, it's definitely going to help you get insight the best time to sell your scrap.